We are live. Let me find us on Facebook.
Yeah, I'm going to find it on Facebook here and see.
There I am. There we are. How exciting.
Okay.
Good.
Oh, there you are.
We had 8 women on. Yeah, there I am. Isn't it neat? We had 8 women on for the last call, and it was all about numerology and getting into that flow of numbers and reading the environment around you and paying attention to it. And so they only had like a 9-minute break. So they need a minute or two to go to the bathroom and kind of get themselves back.
Yes.
Wonderfully. Yes. Well, I'm excited about this conversation because the other conversation was all about how to, recognizing the signs and symbols that are out there. And I hope this conversation will be about how we actually feel spirit, how we physically feel connected to spirit. Because I think when we feel, when we're stressed out, we literally are disconnected from all the other parts of ourself, and we end up feeling isolated and abandoned because it's a felt sense, because it's literally, wait, I'm behind a wall and I can't see anybody. That's literally what's happening. And then we freak out thinking we're all by ourselves. But when we physically feel our nervous system calm down and reconnected, suddenly spirit just sort of appears. Is that kind of your experience?
That is my experience. And that's funny because we've not talked to each other before this. I mean, the last challenge we did, but we didn't really discuss. So these really are very organic, and you and I are very much, not surprisingly, very much on the same page, right?
Right.
So I was thinking that in line with what you're saying, and I just, to make sure that I don't miss any of my bullet points here. So the idea, deepening self-awareness, raising the vibrations, and expanding consciousness. So these are things that we do through the body, as well as through the energetic, more subtle energies. And
right. Do you think one affects the other predominantly? Yes. Or do you think it's pretty equal where we affect the field and the field affects us? Because like in the body, the heart communicates more with the brain. That, there's more going from the heart to the brain than there is from the brain to the heart. So do you think one has more influence than the other?
I think that honestly, I don't believe that it's easy to separate these things out. I think that energetically speaking, right? Energetically speaking, there's this principle that is called non-destructive coexistence of energy. And this principle basically states that the energies at different frequencies, whether we're talking about our chakras or whether in I work with the chakras. Maybe I should give a little background really quick, but I'll maybe finish this thought. Whilst we are working with the chakras or the meridians or the aura,
and these are all measurable. That's the thing. People have to realize these actually physically exist, and we have scientific instruments which measure them. It's not just, me and I coming up with names for stuff.
This is not right. And I have a science background, science education, so I appreciate that to the highest level. In fact, I even have a machine that I use with my acupuncture that shows where the meridians are stuck. So the idea being, though, in the energetic realm, these things can coexist on different wavelengths, different frequencies in the same space at the same time. So when, for instance, if we're doing Qigong, and at the same time we're working with the lower dantian, which is the lower, people say, oh, is that the, we're working with the chakra, the sacral chakra there. And it's not exactly the same, but because of this idea that energy doesn't destroy itself, it can coexist, then we are ultimately working with the energy, all the types of energy. Your body, your energetic system knows what needs to be either opened or unblocked, etc. So when we're talking about the energy of the brain and the heart, what came first, the chicken or the egg? Really, it's just a continuous flow. And it overlaps, even though seems in our linear thinking that there has to be one precedes the other. And I don't think in the energetic realm that's so.
So I have a friend who makes really great pasta sauce, really great tomato sauce. And the way they make it, and they make it intuitively, is they layer everything and they treat everything in a little bit different way. So first of all, maybe they saute onions in the butter and get some of those soft, and then they'll add some tomato juice and let that simmer for a while. And then maybe they'll add one spice and let that simmer for a while. It's as if everything, here are all these independent ingredients that meld together in bringing in their own time, in their own way, because the onions have to go in first, and maybe the lamb needs to go in as meatballs in 4 hours. There's a timing to things, there's an unfolding, and they merge to create a higher order of being.
Right.
And that's what we're talking about when we're talking about the different energies sort of existing at the same time, right? We can't separate it out, because it's almost like the child that's been born. How do you separate out the child's, endocrine system from their circulatory system? You just you can't. Right. It's a baby. So that's kind of what, at least that's how I've wrapped my head around it.
I think that's a very great metaphor, because let's face it, we all love food. We all love pasta sauce.
Oh, no kidding.
No, that really is a very good metaphor, because that is, and a lot of that has to do, as it does with cooking, has to do with the intention and what the operator, or what the chef or the cook, the baker, what do they bring to this, energetically speaking, and what one would bring when they're working with their energy levels, what's your intention? Or for me, when I'm working with my clients as a healer, as an energy worker and an acupuncturist, it really is important for the operator, that is the person who's doing the work with somebody, to have the proper intention. And I think probably most of the folks watching this, a lot of them are healers, or they're working with healers, and we all understand this. And this is really important. So just as there's an intention that goes with cooking, and there's something about cooking with love that really helps to create something that is just a better product, for lack of a better term.
Well, we've been talking a lot about being regulated and being dysregulated, this week. So whether your heart rate is regulated, whether your brain waves are regulated, and that other people around us can feel where we're at, because they don't just stop inside of our skull. The brain waves continue outside of our skull, and they don't stop in our heart. They continue outside of our heart, just like sending radio waves or light waves or anything.
That's right.
Same sort of thing. And so when we're dysregulated, when we're stressed or in the more the less nourishing, the more depleting emotions, like irritated or frustrated or angry or aggravated, the people around us feel that and absorb that, and it affects them. Whereas when we are in that place of love, we're inspiring in them, we're triggering in a positive way in them, to be in a space of kindness and care and compassion.
Absolutely. I agree. And there are 3 points that I'd like to say to that. And one is that the main thing is, part of what I wanted to talk about here, is that when I say we, I'm talking about the light workers, I'm talking about healers, I'm talking about people who are involved with an understanding that there's something higher going on. As we move into this age of Aquarius, we know that there are shifts being made, energetic, spiritual. And so I feel that as people who are in this world, it is really important, if not incumbent upon us, to know that it is we raise our vibration or our light, however you want to say this. I'd like to discuss that in a moment as well. But for us to raise that, right, that is what permeates out. That's what permeates out. And the other thing I want to say is just a very quick note on the idea of when you were saying that if we're in a kind of a lower vibrational state, if one is, then somebody else can also, that's contagious as well. And I would just modify it just slightly to say that our upregulated, or our higher consciousness, our higher vibrations, those are very, very contagious in a very good way. If you are a person who's around, let's say you or I, who and all the other folks who are watching this who are trained or working on this level of self-awareness, if you are around somebody and you're aware that they are in a lower vibration, it doesn't mean that you're going to get it, right? So it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to catch. So there is certainly, as long as you're working in this and you're aware and your energy is, I'll say strong, right? Your chi. So you cultivate chi. And that chi can be your aura. It can be all the things we discussed a few minutes ago. But when that chi is strong, then it doesn't affect. It's like a shield. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
It's
like a strong immune system. It's making sure that you take your vitamin D and that you exercise a little bit. And yes.
Yeah, exactly. So there's that. And yeah. So what do you have to say about that?
Oh, for me, I've never worried, I've worked with a lot of people in this field and a lot of, I don't resonate with a lot of healers who are more in massage therapy, mainly because I don't really get unsettled or insecure or not confident when I work with people, like they might take something from me, or I'm, I don't worry about that stuff, mainly because I know that everybody wants to feel better. No one feels good when they feel dysregulated. Nobody does.
Right.
And they will naturally want to feel better. In fact, most people are desperately seeking for ways to feel better. And so when I come in and I plant my flag in the ground and say, no, this is the vibration we're going to have today. And if I ever feel that I'm going off course, I take care of myself.
Yes.
But I hold the ground for this is the vibe we're going to have. Right. And you will raise up to that vibe. That's where we're going to communicate and speak. And I'm going to assist you in coming up to that vibe because I know that's how you really want to feel.
Right.
And, it's like I know I'm right. And that's just the way that it is. I'm right and you need to come join me.
Yeah. I understand that. So I was thinking that maybe there's some quotes that I wanted to just bring to the fore. And I say this because one, let's just address the elephant in the United States. So in the world, right? So in the world, of course, we all know what's happening. This pandemic has been occurring almost a year. And then the United States, of course, we're going through a lot of tumult. There's a lot of change and chaos and tumultuous issues politically. And it is, again, really important for us to be able to stabilize ourselves, to keep our energy centers moving and flowing properly. And sometimes I feel like there are these beautiful sayings, these wisdom teachings that we've heard a gazillion times, and they become platitudes, which really dishonors them. So I thought that I wanted to read a couple of these ideas that I feel, if you really take it to your heart and energetically, that's yet one way to really try and deal with the situation. And I'll just commence to that. So this one, I know everybody knows these. Like I said, they're almost platitudes, right?
But we don't believe them. That was my problem, is I would hear these wisdoms, I would hear these spiritual truths, and I was afraid to believe them because I couldn't see the proof. But it was only when I started to get the emotional charges and the emotional
Right.
blocks off of my system that I
Yes.
could see their truth.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, it was like fantasy land. Yeah, wouldn't that be nice? But I'm sure it doesn't really work.
Yes.
And only when I started to get the stress off of my system, I started to
Right.
get myself rebalanced. I started to
Yes.
feel connected inside of me.
Yeah.
And then I started to feel connected outside of me. I was like, oh no, that's the literal truth. That literally is what's happening. Literally.
Right.
It's not metaphysical in any way. It's,
Yes.
yes, it's repeatable.
Yes.
So it took
Yeah.
a lot for me to be open
I-
to, to these ideas.
Yeah. And I appreciate you saying that. I know you've said that in many other ways, and that is so helpful for people. And I myself kind of went through that as well. You kind of went through a dark night of the soul, and what's real, what's not, what's truth, so you have to just kind of um, open up these channels, open up your heart. And again, I know those all sound like platitudes as well, but this is just how it is. And it is both physical and metaphysical. The two, again, it's just a continuum.
They're the
So,
same thing. What we do physically is what's happening metaphysically. So if I'm saying open up my heart, I'm literally meaning maybe put my hand on my heart and focus on where my hand is, and my heart will relax around it, and it will get
right.
more blood to it and more nervous system signals. And physically, my heart's now more relaxed and open and regulated. And
That's right.
and that's what we mean when we say open up our heart. When we
Yeah.
open up our physical heart, we open it up emotionally and on all these other levels.
Yeah. So let me start by reciting this, and we know this one. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things that I can, the wisdom to know the difference. And to me, and I know that's just the partial of that prayer or that wisdom. And obviously you can put in there whatever you'd like, God, divinity, goddess, whatever works for you. But grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. There's so much going on in the world that we honestly, we just don't have the wherewithal. We don't have the tools to change a lot of these things. And the courage to change that things I can. So if you can change that, start with yourself. Start with having that, all the things we've been talking about. And of course, the wisdom to know the difference. I think if working with the clients I've worked with for over a few decades now, this one thing is just so important to really get in your heart. The other one, this is Gandhi, and I know we'll understand this. Keep your thoughts positive because your thoughts become your words. Keep your words positive because your words become your behavior. Keep your behavior positive because your behavior becomes your habits. Keep your habits positive because your habits become your values. And finally, keep your values positive because your values become your destiny. That's Gandhi.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of a long way to go, but, verbally, but really translate that spiritually and energetically and mindfully. And we know that we just really have to, it would behoove us to be aware of our thoughts. It would behoove us to be aware of our thoughts and our thoughts of others, and to just be a little more compassionate. Einstein said everything's vibration. And finally, we hear from Abraham Hicks, as you think, you vibrate. As you vibrate, you attract. So those things to me there's so many others, of course. I mean, but those are really valuable to really take those in. A note about some of the ideas of vibrating and positive thinking and all that. I don't want people to think that this is about, and I know you know this, Rita, this is not about wearing rose-colored glasses. This is not about happy-go-lucky and rainbows and unicorns, or quite frankly, sugarcoating the shit. So that's not what this is. We're talking about frequencies here. And the idea being that it's not about being positive in a way, like I said, in a way that's saccharine, fake. But it is just recognizing where your thinking is, being aware of your thinking, not obsessing, but just being aware of it. And asking yourself, one of the questions I like is, is this thought, this behavior, this action, is it empowering or disempowering? So if you're, just if you're thinking something that is what you're ruminating on, something that is a low vibration, and you're ruminating on it, or is it empowering you or disempowering you? And I know you've talked about this, and I believe this too. When it comes to our emotions, all emotions are important.
Yes, they all have value. It's not about getting
Yeah.
rid of a part of us. In fact, every night
Right.
we take time and we do brainwave entrainment work.
Yeah.
Where we can allow this stuff to come up. And it's not about telling yourself that these thoughts or feelings are wrong or bad in any way. It's
Right.
about honoring what they have to say from a
Yes.
mature point of view, from being in
Yes.
our higher self in a more
Yes.
grounded place, enveloping them with care, a feeling of care and compassion, and say, you've been hurt. What do you have to say? And just that witnessing of it without any judgment clears up a lot of stuff.
It really does. And that is one of the most important things that I think a lot of people have misunderstood, perhaps, about these ideas about raising your awareness or deepening your awareness, raising your vibration, expanding consciousness. So raising your vibration does not mean bypassing or sugarcoating or eliminating or tamping down negative emotions, because there's not negative emotions. I mean, not in that sense.
And when are we not being ourselves? When are we not actually being authentic? Even if in 10 minutes we think completely differently, because we've changed our perspective or expanded what we think. We are always authentically being ourselves to the best of our ability, to the best we know how. No one's lying to you. We're all we're all just crazy, actually. We're all just doing the best we know how with all of this stuff that we're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So it is not about tamping those down. It's just sometimes these emotions, which are vibrations, they outstay their welcome, and that's how it in Chinese medicine, when I'm practicing that, it is, we talk about the liver, the spleen, the heart, etc., and the lungs, the kidneys. And when they're not balanced, it leads to emotions that are connected to that, right? And again, I think that, well, I know that you know all of this. So the liver, so if you're getting angry, your liver energy is not flowing properly. And if you continue to ruminate on that, to think about that, you're not asking yourself the question, is that empowering or disempowering? What you want to know is, what's making me angry? That anger is causing me to take action. You take the action, the appropriate action, and then you clear it out and you move on. And you can do that with yourself, or you can come to an acupuncturist, or you can do a myriad of different.
Right. We can change how we emotionally feel about something by doing something physical. So you don't have to revisit. Everybody gets worried that, like, I can't look at my past because I'm going to have to revisit all of my stories, and I really just want to let it go and never think about it again. And what Mena and I are saying is, you can clear these things up without having to tell your story to anybody ever again, including yourself.
Right. I agree. There's so many ways of clearing these things out, whether it's doing breath work, energy work, Qigong, yoga. These are all, the key to this is to do it continually, right? To just continuously, whether it's these, like I said, these things, whether it's meditation or breath work, to try and do it each and every day, to make it a part of who you are. Not what you're doing, but who you are.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I want to say something else. I had a couple of, like I said,
You've said all sorts of brilliant things already. And these conversations are always meant to just, because I find, when we just leave it open-ended like that, just real blossoms, show up. You're just like, I never thought to think like that before,
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the only other thing, there's some of the other things I was thinking about, again, just bringing up your vibration, things to do, we all know. And again, sounds like a platitude, but gratitude, right? Gratitude is not,
it really has a physical, it really affects our body physically in a
yes,
really positive way that's healing. So
yes.
when we make the choice, I love Alan Watts, you know, probably
Yeah,
because he was such a
yeah,
disreputable.
yeah,
Loved
yeah.
him. It's awesome. And what he would say was, love anything, just love something.
Yeah,
And it could be chocolate, it could be your dog, it could be how
yeah,
good your bathrobe feels in the morning. But start with loving something or being grateful for
yeah, yeah,
anything at all. And what
yes,
happens is that starts to create the shift in you because
yes,
it's a physical felt sensation that's changing your body. So
it does.
gratitude heals you.
Absolutely. It really does. And here's a very good opportunity, again, here in the United States, for us. I know that we see all of these things that are very frightening and disruptive, but it's also an opportunity for us to have so much gratitude for what we have and how we are hopefully going to be able to regain as far as our freedoms, our democracy. These are things that a lot of other countries, our brothers and sisters in other countries, don't have this. And we had it, and I feel like a lot of us kind of took advantage of it. Or we just took it for granted. We took for granted that we could go vote for whomever we wanted. We took for granted our freedoms. We took for granted, and that's just unfortunately still something that other people don't have in other countries.
Mm-hmm.
There's just so much to be grateful for. So much. But I want to say that gratitude and compassion, and if we had a journal, or if you just think of it, you don't have to write. If you're not someone who likes to write, just think on that. Just, I say, schedule these things in your day planner, or whether you use your phone for your planner or you write old fashioned, then plan each day to do something that is energetically and spiritually and expansive in your consciousness. If you do this on a regular basis, you'll see that despite what's going on in the outside world, albeit very important, I don't mean be an ostrich and bury your head, but those things are still there, but we're able to be a little more centered with that. And then even come up with creative ideas. If you are somebody who wants to take action, you'll have more creative thoughts on how to take action that's apropos instead of just reacting.
Yes. Yeah. When we make it a habit to nourish ourselves and keep ourselves in a good balance and work through the emotions that come up. And I was just saying this the other day. I honestly believe, and to me it's truth, that when people work on themselves, when they get their brain and their heart and their gut connected, when they focus on compassion and gratitude for anything or anyone, it doesn't matter. But when they focus on that and they clear out the stress chemicals that, have been hanging around and in their brain, when we do that work, I think we naturally look for solutions and find solutions that are to the greatest good of everyone.
Yes.
So the job isn't to convince someone else about what I'm thinking or what you're
Right.
thinking. Our
Right.
job is simply to keep coming back and nourishing and bringing
Yeah.
ourselves into connection, and the thoughts and the ideas that are in the greatest good of everyone is what
Yes.
will blossom from that. So it's not
Yes.
about fighting, it's about nourishing yourself.
Absolutely. And that kind of brings us full circle to when we were talking earlier about it behooves us to be that person so that it's a contagion, that positive, that light, kind of like being a beacon. And when we can do that, when we can be a beacon of light, love, and hope, then we don't have to push an agenda. And we just
Yes.
nourish ourselves, as you said. We
Yes.
enlighten ourselves with the light and the
Yes,
love.
we've decided who we're going to be and how we're going to show up in the world. And
Yeah.
that for me takes up so much of my conscious energy to be
Yeah.
present, to be
Yes.
deciding who I am, to be
Yes.
regulating my emotions, to be in tune with everything. I really don't have energy or time to fight because my focus is on
Right.
How am I, what's going on? The present moment is so all consuming.
Yes, it is. It really is. Absolutely. Oh,
Well,
what a
this
great
has been
conversation.
fun. So
And so,
all of the speakers for whoever engages the most during the day are kind of giving a, you know, a little thank you or a prize or encouragement, you know, so that we remember to come together as a community. Is there anything you might want to offer to the women who engage the most today?
oh yeah, let's see. Ooh, what would be fun? What would be interesting?
I love how you think.
Hmm. Well, I would certainly love to offer some, through Zoom, of course. I would love to offer a treatment for acupuncture for, excuse me. Let me put it out this way. I'll do two things. Okay.
Okay.
So we'll kind of put a rain check on this when I see somebody in person for acupuncture until things kind of clear up. But I will give a session, one session, and my work involves, I only work with women. And well, that's not true. I have some guys that I work with. I've had them a long time, so they, they still come
I
around.
understand. Yes.
And then it's all good. It's good.
Yeah. And I only work with women too, you know, just because I enjoy it more. It's easier.
Yeah.
I don't have all of the other stuff
Right.
involved.
Yeah.
When you're beautiful, you have to, you know, pick and choose how you want to spend your time.
That's so cute. So I do, I'm still giggling about that. So the work that I do is mostly, as I said, psycho-emotional and psycho-spiritual with acupuncture. I do it as you do. I do some work with trauma. So the more clinical work is emotional, and that can include some trauma. That can, small t, big T trauma. But I also work with the spiritual. So I work with, they're actually, without going into any long discussion about that, there's actually a type of acupuncture that works in the more esoteric realm. So for people that are really at a higher, they're trying to increase their level of spirituality, or involved with, or like esoteric ideas, mysticism, things like that. I can work with that. Or I do work with that. So I would give that'd be for the future. The other thing you can do more readily is an online Zoom, and we can do some energy work together. Like I can do energy work over the Zoom, or I can teach them some Qigong. So I'd love to do that. And we'll just, call it a 60-minute session if they want, or 30 minutes. Yeah.
Oh, that's so generous. Thank you, Mena. You know, we've got a lot of women who are in this group, and we're all on that same path, and, you know, trying to find, especially in these days, ways to stay more grounded and centered, and be that positive influence on people around us. So thank you very much for offering that.
Oh,
Thank you.
sure. It's my pleasure. Thank you for doing this, Rita.
Absolutely.
I mean, this is so important and so beautiful that you're doing this. And quite honestly, I don't know how you have the energy to do as much as you do, but anyway, I am duly impressed.
I'm actually doing great, because the conversations aren't draining to me, because
Right.
it's like talking to all of my best friends. You know what I mean? I
That's-
get it, and so it
Yeah.
nourishes me. I'm like, oh, I get to talk to Mena today. Are you kidding me? You know, and it's wonderful.
Great. That's great. Well, I enjoyed this completely. I enjoyed the other speakers.
Good.
And thank you for your work.
Yes.
And thank you
If you wanna pop on and comment to anybody underneath the video, we would love that. They would love that.
Okay. All right. I will. Thank you.
See you later.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
So we will come back at 2 p.m. here and hang out. And let's see who's at 2 p.m. Let me check. We have got, oh, Deb. Deb's going to do a self-guided meditation. And she's Christian-based, and she's going to do a meditation. And the thing I love about meditation is that it's like a self-healing. You actually get to go through yourself, you know, and notice where you have resistance, notice where you feel open, notice where you feel blocked, notice where you feel in flow. And it's meditation, even a guided meditation, especially guided meditation, helps you like check yourself out and see what's going on and fix it before it becomes a problem. So it'll be a great healing for everybody, and you'll be able to be quiet and feel good and just get in touch with you. So we will see everybody 11:30, 12:30, 1:30, 2.5 hours. And I will talk to you later. Bye.